Today I will make two prints from my medium format camera Hasselblad 501C. This is identical negative, so it's two different compositions on the same size of the paper. And what I want to show today is how you can use color calibrator to different magnifications and different enlargements to be consistent with your color and exposure, and how you can transfer from one format to the different format. And as I showed before in previous videos, how you can transfer from like one negative to another negative. Here is the same negative but two different compositions and two different shots. Let's bring my darkroom card and close the windows. Prepare my circulator and heat up the chemicals to the proper temperature. Meanwhile, array chemistry heating up, we can discuss which print we will take for enlargement today. As always, I'm setting up the temperature on the circulator around 36 degrees to compensate the loss on the bottles and have exactly 35 degrees and reheat it constantly on the next development. I'm trying to keep my enlarger free of dust, but anyway, sometimes it takes a little bit to remove the dust from the carrier, but usually I don't have a problem with the dust on my negatives. Picture for today shot on the Portra 160. It's not a usual film for me, usually I prefer more sensitive one. It's quite nice picture with an excellent exposure and the color balance. So let's load it in the carrier and choose the framing for the picture. Today I'm using 80mm and 6x6 box. So it's maximum negative size what I can print on my enlarger, but I specifically choose it like this because I have only 6x6 and I don't want to go actually in the bigger size. Let's focus and check the sharpness on the picture, and because I already saw the scans from this picture, I already know it should be easy to print because exposure is right on and I have a lot of sharpness and details. We will start with setting up the enlarger. I will expose it on a f8 and I will only adjust the filters on the photo head. After navigations, don't forget to put the filters back. And I will continue with the color calibrator, put it on the table. And I need to find the maximum intensity on a diffused picture with the cyan channel. And because I want to use 10-second exposure, I rotate the filter for cyan on top of the head and don't touching the calibrator at all. And when the calibration is over, we can remove the sensitive head. Also put the 10 seconds timer, and I always test it. After removing diffuser filter, we can actually make a test exposure. So let's put the special safe light and open the box with my photo paper. After exposure and paper loaded in the tank, we can continue with the development. We can check the temperature, it should be 35 degrees already. And because everything is fine, we can continue with the first step, which is color developer. This is print number 12. So chemistry is still fresh and we can reuse it almost 30 times more. As a first step, you need to rotate for 45 seconds with the color developer. And the second step, also 45 seconds with the bleach fix. So it's two-step process, really easy, and the chemicals is quite stable. So if you're using 500 milliliters with this size of the tank and you usually lose more chemicals just due to the pouring out from the tank, so it's not so critical like oxidation and freshness and so on for this type of chemicals. At least for my small darkroom, I'm really consistent with the settings and I can repeat the prints anytime I want with the same kind of a kit of chemistry. And so far I don't have any problems with the printing multiple prints with the same settings. So let's check our results and let's see what type of test print we have. As I can expect, this is really good exposure. And let's dry it and check if we need small corrections with the color or exposure value. Usually on a print I'm searching for neutral gray or something close enough. So here is a road and it looks good for me. And I have a amazing blue sky here and exposure on the building looks excellent. And I have a lot of details, a lot of sharpness in the shadows, in the highlights, and I will just put the print inside my lab book, write down the settings. I will just go for straightforward for the bigger print. So after a second exposure, I have a full frame paper without any cuts, and let's continue with the development. Procedure is quite the same, and after the finish, I have a print And for this print, I actually include the border and the letters for Codec 160. So it's more or less like notification that this is like full frame print. So let's carefully apply the squeegee on top and dry it with a hair dryer and carefully inspect afterwards which type of color and exposure we have. I really like the symmetry of the buildings in this picture, and even the middle building here have a parallel lines, which is quite nice because of the size lens I think on the Hasselblad, and just the format is big. Also I have a Kodak lettering on the side, which is not intense and I really like it. And now I want to show how to use a color calibrator with a different magnification. Let's put the diffuser and turn on the calibrator itself. And as you can see, if I rise and lower the head, my exposure on the cyan channel actually moves a lot. And because I need to increase magnifications to crop the picture like this, I need to compensate with the exposure, so it's easier to find the same value for exposure with the color calibrator by finding the central position again, change the time, and have a different settings for the color head. So it's almost 10 seconds difference between the initial exposure and this one, but I still want to work with a 10-second interval. So it means I need to lower down the cyan filter and recalibrate the magenta and yellow colors. So let's remove the calibrator head and let's make exposure with the 10 seconds with the new setting. 10 seconds is much easier with the test printer, so you can make 60 seconds and you can create the 6 different prints. And because the development process is the same, so you put the chemicals for 45 seconds, rotate, and after you're finished, you can check what is the result of your print. Even if it's wet, it's almost perfectly done and nothing will change on top. So let's dry it up and take a look if they have the same exposure and they have the same color balance as the initial picture. As you probably remember by the previous videos, I put the smaller frame on this easel, so I have almost no dead space and I have a small borders, and I still have a lot of details even with a bigger magnification. And as you can see, it's almost the same picture but with a different magnification, and the color balance and exposure looks for me exactly the same. So you can crop it horizontally or vertically, and this is advantage of the 6x6 medium format prints. And also it's a good idea to check the prints in a different environment. And for example, I have a blue building in front of my house, so it's kind of a casting a little bit bluish light, and if you make a pictures, it's sometimes throwing off your exposure. So it's a good idea to have a stable light source which you can compare your pictures and post it on social media or put it on your website.